What kind of people do you follow? I mean, there are so many choices out there, so many different ideas on how to be a great parent, or maybe when you go look for healthy, simple, quick recipes, you can find so many people with amazing ideas. What about workout tips and health advice? Oh man, I get so many ads about workouts that will give men over 40 their six-pack back, and man, they've got 5 simple things you can do in your living room that will make it happen in as little as 8 weeks, and man, that's tempting. There are financial gurus, there's personal growth guides, there's fashionistas, interior design mavens. So how do you choose to follow the people that you follow? I mean, with so many options, maybe the beauty of their vision of what life could be like sets them apart. Like you follow them because what they offer is just so compelling, and it helps you solve some tension in your own life. And because of the way they describe what life could be, you start to follow and test out what they're saying. Or maybe what really draws you in is their authenticity, how they present their solution to the same challenge you've got, and you begin to trust them. They seem like someone you could sit down and have coffee with or go out to dinner with, and you'd be able to have a great conversation with them about whatever it is that you both have in common. So when they offer their product or system or solution, I mean, you trust that it could work for you too. You know why you should pay attention to why you choose who you follow? Because as a follower, at some point, the kind of people you choose to follow end up influencing all your decisions. How you spend or invest, or how you approach your next decision, or what you get rid of, or what you change about your daily habits. Even though you know that by following these folks and buying their products, you know they're not just committed to your good alone. I mean, they have lots of followers. And as you watch them and listen to them and look at what they offer, you're having to decide, is this person really worth following? And they may be offering you something really good, but come on, you also know that they're getting a lot from you as well. And I'm not saying that's bad or evil. I just want to point out that we are a following culture. And it's not because we're wanting to ruin our lives or because we're all self-absorbed. We are following people in an attempt to live better, like live up to our potential, find a way through the struggle, find peace in the midst of pain, find wisdom in the face of so much complexity. We're all looking for someone to guide us because life is difficult at times and confusing sometimes, and sometimes it's just plain defeating. I mean, we all have within us the really healthy desire to find out how to be better and to live better, which is why we've been in this series the past few weeks called Discovering Jesus, How We Know Why We Follow. We're exploring the questions, well, how do we know all the claims about Jesus are true? And if they are, why would we choose to follow him and reorient our entire lives around him? We've been discussing that. Unlike every other religion in the world, Christianity rises and falls on the identity and the validity of a single person, Jesus of Nazareth. So those of us wrestling with doubts or considering walking away from faith, or maybe you walked away and wondering if it's worth it to take a second look, the real question for you guys is not, is there a God or is the Bible true? I mean, those are good questions, but you actually don't need to start there. The first question you should be asking is this: is Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John a reliable account of actual events? Because if even one of those accounts is true, much less all 4 of them, then you can have confidence that Jesus is who he says he is, and he did what the story says he did. If those accounts are true, then figuring out how to follow Jesus is certainly worth the effort. In fact, I just want to go ahead and pose this direct question to everybody. There's no use delaying it until the end. So what's keeping you from going all in as a Jesus follower? I mean, we're a following culture. We follow all kinds of folks. We make changes. We spend money. We change our direction. We create new habits because the kind of life these influencers offer is something we see as beautiful or more peaceful or more joyful or simpler or just plain better. But for some reason, when it comes to following Jesus step by step, we often stop short and just admire from a distance. And even if you're not yet sure about the validity of the claims about Jesus, or you're not sure about going all in to follow him yet, I know a lot of us admire Jesus. We admire him for the way he treated the poor, the sick, the rejected, and the shamed. We admire him for the way he faced off against the power structures of his day. We admire him for his morality and the wisdom he used to teach us how to live. But what will it take for us to go from admiring him to following him? Let me show you what it took for his closest friends to make the jump from admiring to following. After Jesus is arrested, he is beaten. He's questioned by the Jewish priests, then by Roman Governor Pilate. And then he's taken over to the Jewish king Herod. And after a few rounds of humiliating Jesus himself, Herod sends him back to Pilate. And finally, in this dramatic public trial, Pilate sentences Jesus to death by crucifixion. So here's what Luke describes. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, along with the criminals, one on his right and the other on his left. And Jesus said in that moment, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing." Here's what's so amazing. How is he forgiving anybody? How does he find the love in this moment after the last 24 hours of constant humiliation and hate being directed at him from all parties involved? How does Jesus have this forgiving mindset while suffering to think about everyone else? When I'm sick, I actually warn the people around me to keep their distance. I might say things or lash out. In fact, I don't even care if I come across gruff or mean. And Jesus, in this moment, he's experiencing much more pain than anything I've ever been in, but he's thinking about the people around him. And he's not thinking just about the people close to him, the people that are his friends. He's not just thinking about John and Mary and the friends standing there. He's thinking about the soldiers and the priests standing there who are still jeering and mocking him as he dies. And what are those people thinking about while Jesus is dying? It says this, and they divided up his clothes by casting lots. One group is deciding who gets his sandals, his overcoat, and his tunic. And the other group is doing this. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at Jesus. They said, "He saved others, let him save himself. If he is God's Messiah, the chosen one," which really doesn't make any sense. I mean, talk about ironic. The one person whose mission was to die in order to bring about the salvation of the world from sin, they're telling him to try and save himself. No wonder Jesus looks at them and says, "Father, forgive them." They just don't understand what he was here to do. They don't see it. They don't understand. Even one of the criminals hanging in the cross next to Jesus, in his desperation, he calls out to Jesus. It says, one of the criminals who hung there hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us." Save yourself. Like, use your power, use your authority. Do something that will prove that you're the true king and we'll follow you. But for Jesus to do what they were suggesting would have actually made him less admirable, less trustworthy, less worth following. This is what we all admire about Jesus the most. He invites us to refuse to be like the people who don't like us. He invites us to refuse to be like people threatened by us, who take their insecurity out on us, mistreat us, and power up on us. Luke actually recorded Jesus teaching his followers earlier on. He says this, Jesus said, "But love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful just as your Father is merciful." If we understood what Jesus taught, when someone considers us their enemy, Jesus invites us not to return the favor. And he did it all the way up to his own end. I mean, he did that. Imagine watching someone do the very thing that you find impossible to do. I don't know about you, but when I hear that I should lend to my enemies, I don't want to do that. I mean, how am I going to trust that they're going to respond in kind? I can't. But Jesus says you shouldn't expect them to. I mean, how can I love my enemies, the very people who don't want me to succeed? Jesus says, it's still what you should do. But why? Jesus says, because that's what our Heavenly Father does. He's merciful. And then Jesus did this really impossible thing as he was dying. I mean, who actually does that? Who has the ability to forgive the very people who put you on that cross? Jesus did. And as he dies, his friends watch all of this happen, and they were still confused and hurt, and they don't really know what to do. I mean, their friend, their leader, the best man they have ever known is gone, and he showed them how to hold true to what was good all the way through death. Now, isn't that the kind of influencer you'd want to follow? Isn't that the kind of person you don't just want to admire from a distance, but you want to get up close and personal with? Jesus he didn't just do everything he taught. He actually defeated death and came back and became personal with all of his followers. He didn't just offer them some good strategies for living a good life, teach them how to live, and then take off. He suffered death and came back to prove to them that what he taught was true. And more than that, to make a way for them to join him in the kind of life he had told them was available. Jesus is worth following because he did everything he said he would do, and he was everything he claimed to be, and he had the integrity to follow through and do what he taught others to do. The people who were with him before his death went from admirers to followers because Jesus was exactly who he claimed to be, and they saw him do what no one else could do. So what's keeping you from going all in and following Jesus? The tendency for all of us is to stop short of following and just stay at a distance and admire. I mean, admirers might be able to show up at church a few Sundays, but admirers are uninterested in finding a way to pray or read the Bible on their own throughout the week. I mean, connecting with Jesus on a daily basis is something a follower does. Admirers love to sing songs and get all the feels during the music, but admirers think of, really good reasons not to serve or join a team of people trying to make Sundays better for everyone else or finding a nonprofit to help out during the week. Followers take on part of the mission and give a little bit of their time and energy to it. Admirers love to take notes on the sermons and love to do the next popular Bible study that comes out, but they're really not interested in practicing generosity or giving sacrificially to help other people. But followers, they know that growing their faith means more than knowing a lot of good information about the Bible. They realize that their heart must be engaged in giving in order to grow their trust in Jesus. To follow Jesus means that you start doing what he said and what he did himself. And no, you're not going to understand it all. And sometimes it will cause you to make some really hard changes in your schedule and your budget. And sometimes it will require you to look at some deep assumptions about what makes life amazing. And you're going to be challenged when Jesus says life works differently than you've always thought it did. Just like when you're not sure when you change your wardrobe will really make a difference in how you feel until you start buying the new clothes and trying them on. You don't know how good you'll feel until after you've changed your diet for a few months and see the results. Following Jesus isn't about understanding everything on the front end or having no doubts. Following him starts with small steps. So go from admiring to following this week. It only takes a step. Following means you start taking steps. You don't have to take all the steps at once, but if you've been admiring Jesus for a while now, you'll never get the benefit of following by merely admiring. You don't get the better health by watching shows about how to make healthier meals. Admiring those delicious, beautiful plates of food is one thing, the dream of better. But it has no real effect on your health until you go through the process of buying different things at the store, learning new cooking skills, and putting your focus on planning ahead. Is it possible that you're missing out by admiring Jesus from a distance? When you make the transition from admirer to follower, you begin to take part in the life of Jesus, not just admire his life. This is what's so compelling and amazing. When we begin to follow and do what Jesus asks us to do, we find that we have the strength to face hard things and even have joy and peace, even when things aren't perfect. We begin to experience a meaningful life, even in things that seem so small. We begin to understand that Jesus' love is really for us, not just in some general way, but in a personal way. Yes, Jesus loves everyone, but he also loves me. And that empowers me to see myself in a new way. It also empowers me to see my neighbors and coworkers and my community in a new way. Following unlocks a new kind of living that admiring from a distance will never be able to do. And rather than admire and talk about things you've never experienced, why not take a simple step to begin following? Jesus is a great person to admire, but he's an even better person to follow.